Black women are the most loyal to Black men than I'm talking about any other race, any other ethnicity. Black women are loyal to Black men. So 9 times out of 10, my clients be like, I want a Black man. 9 times out of 10, I have to fight them to get them to try something else. But I only
is that I'm not doubting the loyalty, but is that just a factor of maybe they never thought that other ethnic groups of men would be into them because you know what I mean?
I think we love Black men. We just have a thing of when I close my eyes and think about my husband, it's a Black man. That's just how we've been programmed since we were little girls. This is my dream wedding. It's a brother, you know. So I think it's deeper than that. That's my personal opinion. Ladies, like
I find it easier for a white man to approach me than a Black.
They do all the time.
I don't think that's.
I was gonna say I feel like I get hit on more about white guys, but it depends on what environment you're in as well. Like if you go to AC, all the white guys are just gonna.
Man, I got asked on a date, a dude in first class on the plane. Like white men are bold. They go for what they want. Like they'll just be like, "You look good. Can I take you out?"
Natural. Believe it or not, this might sound crazy to you. A white man would prefer you natural before a Black man.
No, that's
incorrect. That is incorrect.
We're not about to put white men on a pedestal. We ain't about to do that. Like, you know what I mean?
You're wrong. Just because they want to touch your hair don't mean we don't love y'all.
Welcome back to another episode of Daily Wrap Up Crew. No booker, but I go by the name of Eli. As always, we got Ace with us.
Yes, indeed. It's your boy Ace. Daily Wrap Up Crew, you got to respect it. Coming to you on a Sunday with a mature perspective, you heard?
Okay. Last but not least, we got Jew.
What it do? It's your boy Jew. I'm here on my crew and Black Excellence on the panel. Daily Wrap Up Crew, you already know the channel.
Yo, what is going on? What is going on? Like, yo, that's crazy, yo. Anyway, as always, we got some special guests with us. Ladies, let them know where they can follow you at.
My name is Donna. I'm a doctor and I'm a nurse practitioner.
Hello, my name is Shaq, and you can follow me at Angel Face Shaq Love on Instagram, and I'm a chef and a home health aide.
Hello, my name is Marcel. I'm a registered nurse. You can follow me at nurse_Marcel.
Hi, my name is Elle, and I am a doctor, and I can be followed at I am Dr. Harris.
Okay.
Medical doctor.
And we
medical
got
doctor. Sorry.
we got a special guest in the building. We got Shay, professional, certified matchmaker in the building to help navigate these conversations with us. Again, let them know where they can find you and follow you at.
Yes, hi, I'm Shay Primus. I'm also in Bravo's Love Match Atlanta, and yes, I'm a certified matchmaker and dating coach. You can follow me at Shay Primus Matchmaker.
Welcome.
Listen, before we get into these topics, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We just passed the 200,000 subscriber mark, man. Wow. Crazy milestone.
Bombs, you know what I mean?
Get the merch. I always say we got the merch, but we got a special show.
We had the
DailyRapupcrew.co and join the membership, man. We got a lot of exclusive content over there, exclusive interviews. We working with a lot of people. I ain't trying to say too much. Just join the membership. Y'all gonna see what we dealing with over there. Let me get into this first topic, right? How important is it to find somebody that is just as successful as you when it comes to dating a relationship? I guess we can start here. What's your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I think we have to think about how we're defining success. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Are we defining success as, education? Is it monetary? Is it their emotional intelligence, which I think is very important? So it depends on how we're defining success.
Okay. I'm glad that you broke that down because now I'm trying to be specific as far as success, what it looks like. What does success look like to you as far as a significant other?
I think emotional intelligence is incredibly important. Communication, just even understanding and knowing yourself. That's so helpful in a relationship. So I think those elements are more important than the other elements that I mentioned. As far as career or money, I think if you have that ability to be introspective and communicate your feelings and your emotions, that's successful.
Okay, I like that answer.
And I think
I agree.
Yeah, I agree entirely, because I think the direction most people go is financially, how successful you are, where you are in terms of your educational level, which I think those things are important. But the more relationships that you have, you realize that those relationships that really survive and where you can really connect, you really have to have that emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
You really have to know how to communicate, because you can be with someone who is equally yoked with you, you know, in terms of education, in terms of finances. But if you're not on the same page, it's not going to be successful.
Absolutely.
And if they don't have the emotional intelligence to recognize how they're coming off to you, and they're not sensitive to your feelings and what you need and vice versa, then you're not going to have a successful relationship. So I think those pieces are important. But I do think there's another conversation around education and finance and what it means, you know, for women like ourselves who are quote unquote successful by society, and what it is that we are looking for in our partners.
Right. That's a great answer. Anybody else want to go?
No, actually, our lovely doctors answered that.
Right.
And just to think we almost didn't have you, that was a great
I know.
I would like to say though, my clients who come to me, they're like, look, I make X amount and he need to make at least this amount. Don't even bring him to me if he minimum wage, it ain't gonna work. Typically they want somebody to be at least 6 figures. That's what I hear often. And it's important to them because they say that they live a certain lifestyle. And so if I lived a certain lifestyle where I'm traveling 6-7 times a year and I'm like, hey, I'm going to Italy next month, and you're like, oh, I gotta save up, I gotta move some money around. Y'all don't have an equal lifestyle. It's more for them. It's about lifestyle compatibility. That's what I hear.
Absolutely.
So would y'all be willing to sacrifice like certain aspects in order to get like the important stuff, like the emotional maturity?
I think. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I feel like a lot of times we naturally do. Like sometimes we forget every man is not successful. Every man is not rich, and they're being dated right now. They're being slept with right now. So it's possible for us to settle or compromise with a man because every man isn't successful. So I feel like, and you have to be mindful, right? Not every female is for the 666 deal. I don't know where that came from. Like, I feel like that's something that's new that came out the blue. I didn't used to hear that years ago. So that is something new. Because I met a guy that was 6 foot, but he didn't make 6 figures. And as far as like sex goes, sorry to go off topic, not every female wants a male with a big penis. So
is 6 inches considered big? I'm sorry.
With me personally, I date men and women. So a big penis wouldn't mean nothing to me because when I'm with a female, we don't use toys. They have a clitoris and their clitoris is small. So a big penis wouldn't mean anything because as long as you can make me have my orgasm, then we're succeeding in that part. But a lot of times people think you need a big penis. No, you don't. So that 666 thing, and I'm not saying 6 inches is big by the way.
Okay, because I was like,
I don't know where that came. I guess that's average. Why they say 6,
average,
but me personally, every female don't want that. It's plenty of females that don't want a big D, and it's plenty of guys that are. Every guy not tall.
Wait a minute. I never heard of 666.
Oh, really?
I thought that was like some demonic. It
is a thing.
It's ironic, isn't it? Like,
it is
I've never heard of it
because every woman tells me they want a man who's 6 feet tall.
Okay, that's.
And the thing is, the average.
Hold on, y'all.
I'm sorry. Every woman tells me they want a man who's 6 feet tall. The average man is 5'9", and only a person who's 6 feet tall is 13% of the population. So I'm like, okay, they're 13% of the whole population with all races. And if you narrow it down to black men, and then you want him to make 6 figures, now we're narrowing down even more. So it's like, it's an unrealistic expectation. So we should expect, on average, he's going to be 5'9", 5'10", on average.
Well, I do think the expectations are extremely unrealistic. I mean, just to be honest, not everybody is going to start off where they're successful. I said I'm a medical doctor. That means I had a long journey. Okay? So if I'm meeting someone who's also college educated or went to graduate in professional school, they're not going to start off where women are coming in. there are a lot of men that they will miss out on.
Yeah, so
and we
true.
don't have to say one who was a former president who started off in a different.
Did he go to like a junior college or something?
No. We're not talking about him. We're
okay.
talking about, President Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Right. But he went to an Ivy League school.
Right.
But the point is the expectations are very unrealistic, and it should be more than he has to make six figures. Because let's be very honest. 6 figures, which is 100,000, is very different in New York City than it is in Boise, Idaho.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you have to look at where you live. And you have to look at someone's potential. So I know people say you don't date for potential, but, for me, I want somebody who's college educated, but he has to be ambitious. Not ambitious that he has to own the company, but he has to want something more. He has goals. He has aspirations, because not everybody starts there, where they're successful. So if you're looking for that, you are missing out on the opportunity for you to grow together.
Right.
And that's when you really build something. So the expectations are extremely unrealistic.
Yeah, they're unrealistic.
Because what puts you at a position where you can demand something like that? So when a woman says he has to make this salary, women are usually the head of household. They make more than their partners usually. If we looked at it like that, Oprah would never be dating Stedman.
Correct.
Okay.
When you said that women are usually the head of households, you mean like single mothers?
Well, you look at, women are the head of household in most households. They are the breadwinners. That's what I mean.
Is that because they're? Are we talking about? You talking about with a couple
I'm
relationship?
talking about financial. Women may make more than their partners, and that's okay. And if you have this expectation that
I'm not
partner,
completely sure about that one.
I think so. Okay, so I think statistically, when you look at it, you're gonna say men make more than women. But remember, I told you there's a whole world out there that's not true.
But I've been on CDC. I understand. I broke blackdemographics.com. I broke down the numbers in general, and the numbers just don't say that otherwise. You know what I mean? I understand there are women who are in relationships that are, but on average, and the majority, I've looked at the numbers. I can't say that for a fact.
Okay.
Unless you can prove me otherwise, I'm willing to learn and stuff like that.
But I think definitely in your situation, that's going to be the case
for Black women.
Yeah, for Black women, and
for
for successful Black women, that's going to be the case. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. But I do think the expectations are very unrealistic, and that's where people get caught in this trap. So to say that this person have to make as much as you, I think you have to look at other parameters. Do you guys have the same values? What are the foundations? And that's what you build upon. But to say, well, he got to make as much as me or more, you could be missing out on something that could be quite beautiful, because he can contribute to the relationship in so many other ways.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad you said, you spoke earlier about what do you define the success as, because, just because a man is 6 feet doesn't mean he's a good man too. He's going to, just because he makes $100K or more doesn't mean he's going to treat you with respect or be a good man. So I think we do have to sit down and understand what it is that a successful, somebody successful looks like to me. And, in my relationship, like, you do have to make sacrifice. I understand, like, some successful women say, oh, well, I live a certain lifestyle. But, if you plan to be in a committed relationship or marriage, that lifestyle might have to change. You have a family now. You have to prioritize other things than you going on vacation every other week. Like, you know what I mean? So things like that are naturally going to, not saying that has to just stop automatically, like, vacations or whatever the case is. But, you might not be able to get that bag, that Chanel bag that you wanted, that you used to get, or your husband used to get you, because, you have children now. Like, you got to worry about other things. Like, so I think people have to understand, sacrifices in the relationships, and, not everybody's going to be able to just have this luxury lifestyle all the time. Like,
Well, it shifts the dynamic of the relationship too. Like, so if you date a woman who makes 2-3 times your salary, now it's a question of, do we live where you can afford? Do we live where she can afford? Do we live somewhere in the middle? Like, all of those things. Are you paying all the bills? Are you expecting her to? It's like a whole lot of things that comes into play that shifts the dynamics. And so a lot of times I hear women saying, I still want to be treated like a woman. I still want to be taken out on dates. I still want to be, treated to trips and all this kind of stuff. But if I'm dating him and he doesn't make the money I make, he can't do these things. So I think that's a perspective I hear.
Right. Just to kind of segue, just to go with what you're talking about, I have seen recently more and more female professional matchmakers, not the home ones. But I see a lot more of them expressing their frustrations with, matching people or just blatantly quitting because they feel like, some people have unrealistic expectations. It's just unrealistic. In your experience, who do you think is more difficult to, match successfully, men or women?
And sisters, don't beat me up because I love y'all. But women do have more unrealistic expectations. And honestly, I think it's because when you're successful, you get to do everything you want. You get to choose the house you want. You get to choose the car you want. You get to customize your life. And here's one area that I feel like they try to customize and it's difficult. But I am not one of those women that will say, I'm not a matchmaker that'll say I'm walking away because women have unrealistic expectations, because I'm also a dating coach. So it's my job to coach you and say, hey, here's what's out there and let's massage that and let's work on your expectation and let's make it realistic. So I'm not bowing out.
So what are the things? So I want to ask you from, what do most men require when they're looking for potential mates, and what do women normally require?
Well, men can be unrealistic too, especially so when you get older, when you get like 45-ish, those men, 45, 50, those men are very successful, and then they tend to think they can pull a 25-year-old. And it's like, sir, you're a daddy to her.
Sometimes you can.
They can, but you got to pay to play. You can, but you got to pay to play. And so they be thinking that she in love with them. Like, no, she's not in love with you. You're her father. You're a sugar daddy. You're a sugar daddy. So I have to set the expectation. Like, no, she doesn't love you. She loves what you can do for her. Like, let's be clear. If you get somebody at par with you, your age, she might love you. This girl want what you can do for her. So it's an expectation thing too that they have. But I think men can be more physical. So they'll get to, she need to have this kind of booty, these kind of boobs, and it's like so physical. Whereas women can be materialistic. Like, you need to make this amount of money. And sometimes people have this image of, I want to post my Instagram pictures, so I need them to look like this. It's so crazy. So sometimes that can get a little unrealistic.
Got you. Have you ever found the perfect match for them, but maybe he ain't hit that 6 foot threshold?
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. Because so you'll come in with out the gate. You're paying me thousands of dollars, so you're gonna come out the gate like, boom, I want this, and this. And then I'll introduce you to somebody who's great and he's amazing and he loves you and he treats you right, but he's 5'9". And you like, you know what? But you know what? He hit everything else. I'm going to roll with that. So that happens all the time.
Yeah, it does. It does happen. Obviously with men as well. You probably have the perfect woman. And maybe, the ass ain't fat enough or whatever the case is. Like,
and they do. They will marry her and her booty ain't that big. But you know what, Shay? I love this girl. So that happens.
So what do y'all think is the concept of, we always hear dating down, right? And I'm not going to date down. What do y'all consider as dating down for y'all?
Well, for me, and I'm going to say this because I had to switch my dating scenery up, because when I say dating down, and I hope no one takes offense to this, okay, a lot of guys from the urban community are still living their street life. And unfortunately, you could be walking down the street, going to the deli, etc., and there are going to be people that stop you, right? And when I say dating down, I don't want to date a drug dealer. Like, I'm not a ride or I can't ride or die for you. Like, I can't be a ride or die dummy.
That's the first time we heard that on this show. That I don't want to date a drug dealer. That's the first time.
I didn't know where she was coming from.
I'm not saying this to be mean, because I have. And I went through an experience, and you have to sometimes go to an experience to actually learn from it. And I realized that wasn't the lifestyle for me. It looked fun, it looked exciting, yes, ride or die. But in reality,
you got questions.
I realized, that's me dating down, because that's not me. That's not you can't want so much for yourself in life and accomplish so much. And I feel like dating somebody who just want to be a drug dealer for the rest of their life, they legalized weed in New York. And I watched a lot of guys who were local drug dealers in the urban community let other people come and get their license. And now they're selling the same drugs you were selling that you went to jail for. And you could have actually had a business. Now, I would have respected you more if you would have turned your situation to a business. But you're still doing the same thing you was already doing. So to me, that's me dating down. dating a drug dealer who's doing the same thing that he was doing 10 years prior or 5 years prior. What else can you do for your life? You didn't raise that money yet. You didn't get a house or a car. You don't have other workers for you on the corner, nothing. Like, so that's what I mean.
No
dating
progression.
down. Like, you didn't level up yet.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
That's just my experience. Sorry.
For me, dating down, I will have to say if your morals and values don't align with mine. So if you don't believe in God, that's a red flag for me. If you don't come, in a good family background, that's a red flag for me. Like, that's me, like, not dating down. Like, that's what I would just have to say. Like,
I forgot. And fighting demons. That's dating down. I don't want a guy that's fighting demons. It's not my job to get the demons out of you. A lot of guys go through traumatic things, and they expect the female they're dating to take on that trauma. And I'm not the girl that's here to help you fight your demons either. I feel like that's something your therapist is supposed to help you with. And then you come to me after you got the help. And then now we could be happily ever after. But I do not like the demon fighting guys.
Come here. Well, I want to ask you, you said if you don't come from a good family background, you can't choose your family. You know what I mean? So it's like you can still emerge out of that and be a stand-up man. So
you can.
How do you navigate with that?
You can. I agree. But I just feel like when you're dating, and I feel like for women, when they date, they don't do the research. Like, they think like, okay, so I'm dating this guy. Like, for instance, what Shaq just mentioned about guys being drug dealers and stuff like that. I feel like they don't do the research. They don't really sit and think about, like, who is this guy? They don't take the time. They just rush. They see the money, or they see the whatever it is that attracts them to this particular guy. Right. They see the cars and stuff, and they don't take, consideration of his family background. I understand what you're saying, but for me, if, like, I'm engaged, and I'm not going to say my fiance came from a 100% perfect family background. I'm not going to say that. But, and however, him as a man and how he was brought up, I can honestly say, like, he learned from his situations and stuff like that. Right. And, you learn from things, and you try to get onto the right path. So.
Right. Okay. Let me go with Shay. Shay, have you ever dated down? Or what do you consider dating down?
That's a loaded question. Absolutely, I have. Absolutely. And I think dating down for me is anything that takes me down, like taking on something that doesn't take me higher, but takes me lower in whatever capacity that is. If you using me financially, if you draining me emotionally, if you just not stepping up and I got to step in on your behalf, all of that to me is dating down. So I have done it before, but I think that's what makes me such a great dating coach, because I can pull from my previous experiences and say, yeah, I did that. Right. I learned from this. I tried that. You might not want to go that way, so I own it.
And the same light of, dating down, sometimes we outgrow our partners.
Oh, yeah.
How do you handle that situation? If
you're going to be constantly growing, and you're going to constantly becoming something else, something different. Yeah, so that can definitely happen. I'm definitely a proponent of therapy and, mental health. And so you talked about demons. Like, I'm huge on, we all have trauma. We've all experienced something in our childhood or through life, relationships. Life. Yeah. Life is going to hit you. Nobody's walking around here saying, I have no issues, no trauma. Nobody's like that. We all have our stuff. Right. So I don't think you can beat somebody up, but you can say you need to hold yourself accountable. You need to go get the help. You need to go get healing, right? So if you're not willing to do that, and I have been in situations where a person was just like, I'm not going to go to therapy. Okay, well then we're done here. Because you're not willing to work on yourself. I can't take that in. And to your point, men do date women expecting us to heal them. Yeah. Because we are healers.
I was just going to say
we are nurturers. Natural. We're incubators. We're natural. This is what we do. But I'm not healing you, sir. I'm not a hospital.
It's not my department, not the demon department. Like, you want me to help you get your LLCs or something?
We can do that. But I'm not healing your past traumas and I'm not doing that.
Sometimes I feel like people hold on to their childhood trauma And I do feel at some point, because our parents went through childhood trauma
Of course.
too, and then our grandparents
Of
went through it.
course.
At some point, like, we have to become adults and move forward instead of continuously blaming our parents.
And they make excuses, not to cut you off, but men sometimes, not to be a man basher, I'm just saying, like, some men, they'll hold on. Okay, you know, but men, they do hold on to childhood traumas, and then they use that to blame, like, oh, well, I went through this as a child, and you know what I mean? Like, they use it to blame and to use it as a cope mechanism or excuses for the things that they do to women, or the things that because they lost a job, or because they're drug dealers. They do that just as an excuse, I feel like. So
I think, honestly, you can get that from both men and women.
Yes, I agree.
I think because it could be something traumatic that happened, we're going to relive it over and over again, and it may present itself, manifest in a way in our lives, in our relationships. I do not think that it is our job to heal, but I do believe it's our job to support our partner
Of course.
in their healing journey.
I
So
appreciate
if
those words.
so if someone says that, you know, I want to go through therapy, or even if they don't, you being their partner is to recognize that and support them and say, look, that's what you need. I support you. And that's what I think you have to do. And you asked the question of, you know, people evolve and they grow out of each other. I think it's important to check in, to have check-ins.
That's good.
And you have to understand, as Shay said, that you're constantly growing. The person who you were 5 years ago is not going to be the person you are today, hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully,
So you go in with that expectation,
for better or for worse,
right?
you know,
That you are continuing to grow, and that you are growing together, but you're checking in. And life happens. Sometimes you grow, and it may end up being, you know, two roads, different roads that you take. But it's okay for it to be roads that you take together, because you're still an individual, and you have to respect the individuality. But you have to be mature enough to come together and to have a true partnership, because there are things that I like to do, and my partner knows that, and he's very supportive. There are things that he loves to do, and I want that, because I want to see the joy in him, and he wants to see the joy in me. So, you know, I think it's important for us to support each other, and we all have trauma, and we all have to recognize that, and we all will use it as an excuse. But we have to hold each other accountable when it happens. But we have to be supportive of each other in our healing journey.
Yeah,
while we on the growing topic, I remember Eli used to say this: when you get married, to have like a 3-year contract. If y'all want to renew it after the 3 years, like, would that be something y'all be interested in? Because, you know, sometimes you go apart. So every 3 years or every 5 years, whatever, check in, like, oh, do we still want to do this?
I thought about this. That's a great. I had thought about this because when you get a marriage license, every other license has the expiration date, and obviously marriages ain't lasting like how they used to. You know,
Right.
So my thing was, should we put expiration date on the license, and after the 3 years, you know, if you guys still want to continue this, you know, I mean, people renew their vows, is almost the same concept, whatever. So after 3 years, whatever the contract is, you know, hey, we have this conversation. You sit down with a therapist or whoever, you know, whatever it is, your church, talk about if y'all want to continue this route. And I think it will be a lot easier than people going through the divorce process and all this, you know, being married, but technically didn't get the divorce, or they just, you know, separated or whatever the case is. So that was a concept I had. Obviously, it's not a popular concept, but, you know, it's just something to think about.
But it's not the same difference. It's just a different name now.
What is that?
Instead of saying divorce, like, we just changed the title, but it's the same situation.
No, it would save you from going through that process.
You just renew or not. You're renew or not renew is what he's saying. So instead of divorce, you have to renew. Do you want to renew, or you want to not renew?
I think when you get into a relationship, but, you know, when you say, okay, this is someone that I want to embark on this journey with, I think it's a good idea to start with therapy, because you have this person who is objective, who is going to help you to mediate conversations, to help you to see things that you may not be able to see with your partner because you're so emotionally invested. So I think it's important to say, okay, you know what? We have our date nights. We take trips together. Let's have a therapist. right? We're it's a part of our maintenance for our relationship.
Definitely.
And you're checking in. When I talk about check-ins, you're checking in. You can say, we're going to check in once a week. It can be 30 minutes. How you doing? How are things? Is there something I can help you with? Do you need my support? So you should be aware, if you are transparent with each other, what's happening. That way it's not a surprise 3 years when the term is over with, they said, well, you know what, this is the problem that I have. But you guys have been talking, because remember I said earlier, communication is essential.
Right.
You could have all those things. He looks good on paper, she looks good on paper, but it's having those check-ins, right? That is critical in a relationship, and you can decide how you want to do that, because you could have that term and people will wait until the very end to say, you know what, this is not working. Right. Versus, well, why didn't I know we were going along?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. So the 3-year expiration, and when you look at marriage, you know, some of the times that may be one of the times that's kind of like you're dipping down low. And when you're dipping down low, do you want to just like exit out? When people have an exit out clause, sometimes it's hard to put that grit in, just like anything, just like going to college, right? Like, you know, you're going in and you're taking these exams and it's all this work. Like, say, oh, well, you know what, let me come out. Like, you'll never get that prize if you think like that.
You're less likely to put in the work.
Right, you have to put
you can check out.
Everyone that has been successfully married for years will say, this is real work. And so if you have an opt-out clause to real work, then you will never be successful. Now, when I'm going back to success again from the beginning, and how do we define success? And I talked about like being introspective, knowing yourself, knowing how to communicate. We're kind of circling right back to that, to therapy and understanding. And when you asked, you know, how do you define what's a good family? And really understanding what's a good family for you. Some people can't even recognize that their situation wasn't optimal and it wasn't conducive for growth, for a family, for children, and they're still replicating what they learned growing up. And that's harmful for our community. It's very harmful. So I think, you know, again, going back to that emotional intelligence, and let me just say, I also it is important for me, for my spouse to make money. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? I put in that grit. I worked hard. It wasn't easy for me to get my credentials. It wasn't easy. It meant staying up at 3 a.m, till 3 a.m, waking up at 6 a.m. to go to class. It wasn't easy. So I expect that level of grit in return. And going to this, like seeing my father as a role model for me has made it very, very difficult for me, you know, for dating. And when I was married, he didn't have my mother's a registered nurse, retired registered nurse, and my dad was an auto mechanic. And he always said to my mother, I'm going to always make more money than you. And so he had the ambition that Elle was talking about. So he opened up his own business and he provided for us. My mother didn't work. She stayed home with us. And so it's very hard for me when I meet someone, or I have 2 daughters. And this is why I came on the show as being a representative to, like, kind of for younger girls too, like what we should be thinking about. Like, don't go to sleep at 10 o'clock and then say, you know, stuff is not good for me. I got to see that grit. I got to see that work. I got to see that ambition. I got to see that drive. I got to see, you can't sit and watch a whole series of Netflix and then tell me like things are hard. I need that grit. And I tell they have to have that hustle to work hard.
Shay, let me ask you this question. How important, when you're matching men, how much do they emphasize a woman's earning potential, or do they prioritize other things?
Men never ask me about how much she makes. I have millionaire clients and I could match them with a waitress. They would not care. It is a thing that women ask for more than men do. But I think it's because we have a security need that they don't have. Like we have what's going to be our living standard that men don't have? And also men say, well, it don't matter how much she makes because I can't tap into her money. She's not going to give me her money. So I don't care how much she makes. That's what they say to me. They're like, women care how much a man makes. Men never tell me that.
I think, you know, the only reason I asked it because sometimes I think when women are looking for significant others, they often look for things that they want in a man and then they expect that man to want those same things. So if they want a man that's a high earner, oh, well, why doesn't a man want me? I am a high earner, because men tend to value other things in women besides their money. So I think it's, and go back to, Ju made a point about growth, and then obviously Elle followed up with it. I think we don't have enough conversations about growth and our partners and stuff. We never talk about it, and that's a real thing. And I think we need to have more conversations surrounding growth and what that looks like in your partner and how to adapt to that change, because everybody's going to change. Like, you know what I mean? So
I do want to add one thing. So I go to different like professional conferences, medical conferences, attorney conferences, dental conferences where these men are. And when I present, like I have a whole lookbook of my clients, and they're all beautiful and successful, and I show them, and they're like, ooh, it's not that they don't want a successful woman. And I don't want to be offensive when I say this. I feel like they don't know where to get them. So they're just like, I'm going to take low-hanging fruit and date Keisha because she here. Does that make sense? I hope it's not offensive. But what I'm saying is they don't put forth the effort to go get that type of woman, go where she is. It's just like, well, I'm in the club. Keisha came up to me, so let's go with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. I hear what you're saying. I think sometimes men feel like they would rather pick a woman that's in that element because they would have more time to give them their attention. So I don't think it's so much, oh, she may be busy in her world and climbing the successful ladder where his needs are not being met, because we're not looking for your finances. We want words of affirmation. We want, acts of service, you being there. And like, it goes into like, I know you guys are like, oh, we're not here being your therapist. I don't think you should, be anybody's therapist, but we do. That nurturing side of you, we want from women. You know what I'm saying? We want to feel that you care. That's a support that Elle spoke about. Like, we want, like, you may not have to worry about fixing my past, but your words will be willing to fix my future, because you're bringing life into me when I hear you speak. So it motivates me in a different way. So sometimes,
but successful women can be nurturing too.
Absolutely.
I think
it has a bad rap.
I think that's what men think. They have the thought that she make money, she's gonna be hard, and she's not gonna be soft, and she's not gonna be nurturing. But those are two different things. That's
I'm
not
glad
true.
you said that.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that women can be successful. I think we are great multitaskers.
Absolutely.
So let's just say that. So I think that, when you're with your partner, and I do really appreciate you saying the words of affirmation and acts of services, which are one of the two of the five love languages.
Shout out to Wolf.
I do get that sense that is what men want, but women also have a love language as well.
Absolutely.
And even though a woman may be successful, she still wants words of affirmation, not for somebody on the street, but from her man, her partner, or whomever she's with. So I do think, and I appreciate you saying that, that you also need that. Women need it as well. And if we both have that grit, to Donna's point, and we're both moving along that journey, we're gonna have to learn how, when we get home, we gotta let that go.
You do.
Because I can tell you, in my world,
Yep.
There's a lot of control that I maintain. There's a team, but when I get home, I want to give that up.
Yep.
And when I, and I'm sure, Shay, you've heard that women say they want the security that you talked about, and that doesn't have to just be financial, but they want the security. They want to be able to not be in control all the time, and want to be feminine and want to be nurturers and to take care. I think that's the beauty of owning our femininity, of owning our sexuality, is to express ourselves. That's going to help our partners.
A client said this to me, and I love it. She said, when I get home, I want to be able to take my cape off, hang it up, take my shoes off, and you come massage my feet. Like, I don't want to be superwoman at home. They don't. They want, I know I have to do this at work, but when I get home, it's on you, babe. What's the decision? Let's do it. Like, that's what women want. And so I think sometimes successful women get a bad rap. Like, oh, she going to be hard. We're going to be bumping heads. No, not necessarily.
Let me tell you what I did before I came here, and Donna was there. I made dinner for the family before I left, because I just wanted to make sure that they had dinner. And it can happen. It can be done. But that was me being who I am, being a nurturer, making sure that everybody is taken care of.
Mhm.
And there are women who do that,
Absolutely.
right, who are successful,
Yep.
you know,
Mhm.
but again, success means so many different things.
Yeah.
But I know that my family is going to be taken care of while I'm here.
Yeah.
Because we eat at 7:00, you know.
Right.
They're gonna have dinner.
I appreciate you saying that. I know where Drew's gonna go with
I'm
this,
gonna
but
leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it
All
alone.
right.
we
Say
know
it.
we have had women who will use that as an excuse not to do those things for their family, or they'll be
I know. I
like,
have a
"Well,
son
you was
and I've
home.
had
You
that
was home. Why ain't you do? I was working all day." Like, you know what I'm saying? So we do have, women that will make those excuses to not do the things that they would do out of, you did it out of love, you just
Out of
wanted to feed
love.
your
Right.
family.
Yeah.
Someone will look, well, I'm not your slave, or this, that, and the
No.
third. And to a point Donna made,
Yeah.
which is, I think is perfect, but I think it can be hypocritical because women will speak about their fathers and then say, I need a man that was like my father. But then when in return, when men say, well, I had a mother that was, you're a mother's boy. There's that double
It is a double
standard
standard.
there.
It
Like,
is
you
a
know what I'm
double
saying?
standard.
So,
I'm not
It
your
is.
mother.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
mommy issues.
No, it is a double standard. I agree with that. It's very true. Because I'm a daddy's girl, and listen, my daddy holds it down to this
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Like, he
Yeah.
holds it all the way
So
down.
hard.
And it's really hard when you have a good father.
Yes.
Because you do it's a measuring stick. Like,
Right.
wait a minute, my daddy
Did
would.
this.
Are you gonna?
Mhm.
It is a measuring stick.
yeah.
When we don't want the same measuring
Yeah.
stick.
You don't want that same measuring stick. Right?
Yeah.
I got a great mom. She used to.
So I do want to get to this because obviously in today's society we live in a different it's not as traditional as it used to be. Women are working now. Some women are out earning their husbands or their significant others. So how do two successful people in a relationship manage the finances? Because we hear the successful women, but then they really do want to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of the kids. But with those women that do want to work, they're career driven. How do you navigate the finances? And I'm not trying to go with the 50-50 aspect. I know y'all probably think I'm leading that, but what are some things that you feel like, my earnings can help to the family? Like, what do you think? How do you think that works?
I heard a woman say, and I loved it. She was like, I don't want to work to put food on the table. I want to work to put whole foods on the table. You know what I mean? So I would love if my salary was kind of like something a little extra. I don't mind working.
Because not to cut you off, but I think that is one of the reasons why men don't tend to care about a woman's, success when it comes to earning potential, because it's like, okay, well, it doesn't contribute towards, the family, like, because a woman, how many times we heard, not all women, but we hear women, a man's money is my money and my money is my money. So a man is looking at it, well, I don't really care for her money because it has nothing to do with me or the family. So that's why I wanted to ask, what are some ways that successful women can contribute to the family with their income?
Well, I know your question's on income, but I think that we have to get back to basics, meaning that we all have strengths that we each bring to a relationship.
True.
And that's what you have to play up to. You said that more relationships are not traditional, meaning you have a family where both are have careers, and you have to figure out, like for me, I love to cook. It's how I relax.
Right.
Okay.
Well, my partner, he doesn't mind washing the clothes. I hate doing that. So, that works. And that's just a simple example, but the point is you have to play up to your strengths, and you can't get bogged down on assigned roles.
Gender roles.
And I didn't want to say gender.
Okay.
Just to be said, but assigned roles that people have that could be based on gender, culture,
Societal
whatever.
standards.
Societal
Yeah.
standards, right. Thank you. So not to get bogged down in the assigned roles, because that's where you're really going to have the arguments, because you're going to be like, well, you're supposed to do this as a woman. You're supposed to do that as a man. And so as a successful woman, I think that you have to get past this, well, I make more, and that's because I make more, you should be doing X. And I think, honestly, the fair way to do it is proportion to income.
Okay.
I don't think
that makes sense. I mean, obviously, yeah.
It does, right? If you make more,
Wait, does that go for if the woman is making more than?
That's what I said. If you are, because I'm gonna speak from a woman's perspective.
Okay.
If you are a woman and you make more, you, out of fairness, you cannot. And this person, let's say you make 100,000, they make 50,000. They can't pay 50-50. But you have to be comfortable with that. To me, it has to be proportionate to income. And you can't just look at the finances. You can't just say, well, you know, I contribute this and you only contribute that. Well, what else do you do for each other?
Right.
Because it's those other things that count. And it's those other things that are going to sustain you. Because we could come up with a lot of women who are multimillionaires, billionaires, and their spouses or partners may not make as much, and they have a successful relationship. And I'm sure they're not saying, well, I'm a millionaire and I can afford this house and I pay this much and you got to pay half. That's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic, very much.
It's very much so unrealistic. But I don't know, because I don't know the evidence, but I don't know if women are receptive to that. Because they have this.
I mean, they was killing Gabrielle and D-Wade when Gabby said that.
It's one of those things that...
It's a financial part that everybody keep talking about. Right. Like, because when they say 50-50, they're talking about the money. They're not talking about, I'm going to take the kids to school, we're switching everything.
That's true.
There's so much more to
When they say 50-50,
That's
they're
true.
literally only talking about money. That's the problem. If you're swapping out with me with other things, like say I would have took the kids to school, right? So say I make more, going back to the whole 50,000, 100K thing, we can split the bills. If I made 50K or you made 50K or I made 100 and you made 100, right? You're putting up 25 and I'm still putting up 25. That's just for our bills, right? We still have our other money to store from the side. We still can split 50-50 on bills, even if I make more or you make more.
I have clients, let me give an example. I have a client, she makes $5 million a year. And I told her from the gate.
Shout out to her.
Shout out to her. She's one of my favorite clients, by the way.
But
I'm sure.
I just matched her with a guy who's an attorney. He don't make nearly as much as she make, but he definitely makes six figures. And she didn't care. She was just like, Shay, I just don't want him to, when he pull up to my mansion, when he pull up and see my cars in the yard, I don't want him to be intimidated. That's what's important to me. This is how I live. I don't want to dumb it down. I don't want to water it down. This is me. If you can accept me, I can accept you. And we can ride off in the sunset. That was her thought. Some women are not like that. They're like, nope, you got to come. So everybody's different. But she's very logical and she understands. I'm not going to be able to fire her.
Would you say that's a majority though?
It's not the majority. But again, that's my job to say, here's what's out here. Okay? This is what we're working with. I can get you this. I don't know about that.
I heard you say earlier that issue they have is like I want to go on vacation like every other month or whatever,
they do.
And their partner can't. But if you could afford to pay for your partner to go with you, why wouldn't you want to do that?
So that's the thing. So yes, they can afford to do it. Absolutely.
Right.
Like they'll like drop 30,000 at the mall just on GP. It's like ridiculous. Right. It's like I'm like, oh girl, stop. So when I'm with them, I'm like, so if you could do this, you could do this. And these are the conversations. This is why I said it's my job to level set. It's my job to make unrealistic expectations realistic.
Are those conversations uncomfortable?
They're very uncomfortable. But I think, so for me, you have to trust
trying to tell me I got to settle?
And then, so we get into this conversation. Is that settling though? Is it settling though? If he's doing all these other things like you talked about, he's supporting you in this way emotionally. So is it settling? Because what you're doing right now, you by yourself. So you can go with this or you can go with, so this is how I break it down.
Exactly.
You have to trust me. You have to know that I'm not belittling you. I want you to find love. I'm here to help you find love. I'm only successful if I find love for you. So I definitely want you to find love. But if you think I'm gonna be able to find you a Dwayne Wade, it's not gonna happen. Like, let's just keep it real. It's not gonna happen. That's a 1 in a million. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna happen.
Right. And he's gonna have the bulk of options. You know what I mean?
That's what men with money have more options. Let me say that. Women gonna hate me for it, but it's the truth. Because like I said, they can date younger. We don't like dating too young. It's like, ew, that's gross. Like, but they don't have that. They'll date younger. They have the spectrum that they can choose from. And the more money they get, the more choices they have. And they can be, I want a premium. I want a model. I want to, I want other races. Let's go there.
And the higher that money is, the more they're willing to compromise as well.
Absolutely. So it's not the same. We're not talking apples and oranges. And then two, a lot of times if women don't have children, so a lot of my clients are late 30s, your clock is ticking. You want children. So then I'm like, freeze your eggs. Let's slow this down. So this is where I come in as a coach to say, this is what you need to do. I'm going to do my part. Can you do your part? Definitely. Can you go freeze your egg? You can afford a surrogate. So push come to shove. So this is where I have these conversations to make it realistic. Because if you think I'm going to go find somebody in 2 months, y'all going to get married, he's going to get you pregnant, it's just not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? So it's my job to say, here's what's going to happen. This is how it's going to work.
So what is the age range for people that normally hire your services?
So usually, because my services are expensive, I would say on average I have a package that's $10,000, but most people pay $25,000. Okay. So that person's usually late 30s, who can afford that, to be honest with you, mid 30s, or, if I have a 31-year-old attorney, but she can afford it, so it's somebody who can afford that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So this next topic is pretty interesting because obviously we do have influx of more successful Black women who feel like they don't have as many available options. Do you think Black women should consider dating outside their race more to find a significant other?
Brothers don't hate me for it, but absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think you have more options. So if we look at statistics and we say 1% of Black men make six figures or whatever number you're looking at, if I widen my pool and I take in Asian, white, now I have more options. So, if you're stuck on it, if somebody tells me they're stuck on a dollar amount, I'm going to say we got to widen the pool. Now, if you say, I don't care about, it depends on what you're looking for. If you tell me I'm looking for these values, I can get that all day. If you want these character traits, I can get that all day. But if you're stuck on this dollar amount, you definitely need to broaden your horizon. Yeah. Okay.
So let me ask the ladies, have y'all ever felt the need to I'm not finding the quality, the caliber of, Black men that I want. Maybe I should, broaden my horizons and date interracially? Has that ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I date different types of people, I would say, whether it's a male or a female. Okay. So I don't care what your background is. Okay.
I've never had that issue. Okay. But I do believe that people should expand their options. Right. I say this all the time to my female friends: a woman should always have options, and that's what you work for, options. And the best option you have is the ability to say no. Yep. So because you are where you are, you can say no. So I haven't had that problem, to be honest with you. I've been able to find men that share the values, who I feel I'm equally yoked with. And I also believe that you should open yourself up, like Shay said, because men are men. Yep. Yeah. No matter men are men, and what's important is you have the same values. Yep. Yeah.
Right. The values is important.
Yeah, and I think I want to tell you, Black women are the most loyal to Black men than I'm talking about any other race, any other ethnicity. Black women are loyal to Black men. So 9 times out of 10, my clients be like, I want a Black man. 9 times out of 10, I have to fight them to get them to try something else. But I only
is that and I'm not doubting the loyalty, but is that just a factor of maybe they never thought that other ethnic groups of men would be into them because they, you know what I mean?
I think we love Black men. We just have a thing of when I close my eyes and think about my husband, it's a Black man. Yeah. That's just how we've been programmed since we were little girls. This is my dream wedding. It's a brother, gotcha. So I think it's deeper than that. That's my personal opinion. Ladies,
I find it easier for a white man to approach me than a Black.
They do it all the time.
I don't think that's.
I was gonna say, I feel like I get hit on more by white guys, but it depends on what environment you're in as well. If you go to AC, all the white guys are just gonna.
Man, I got asked on a date, a dude in first class on the plane. White men are bold. They go for what they want. They'll just be like, you look good. Can I take you out?
Natural. Believe it or not, this might sound crazy to you. A white man will prefer you natural before a Black man.
No, that's
incorrect. That is incorrect.
We're not about to put white men on a pedestal over there. We ain't about to do that.
You're wrong. Just because they want to touch your hair don't mean we don't love y'all. Just love y'all hair.
They would not have a problem with you walking down the street with them with your natural afro. I'm saying literally your natural features versus your significant other that's Black will question. You ain't gonna fix your hair. You ain't gonna fix your hair.
Look, you got the braids going back. When you gonna put your wig on? Where's your makeup?
I'm not saying every guy do that, but you have to be realistic and be it's a lot. They say they like natural.
You said one thing,
but they'll pay for a BBL.
Fix yourself up.
They say they like natural, but you would get the girl with the big booty Judy before the skinny girl without it walking. Realistically, it sounds nice to say that, but y'all would pick the BBL girl walking down the street before for the natural sister walking down the street.
We could
So
tell
to
what
say
community
that-
you from because you're not listening to 3 black men that's right here that love women with their natural.
But I'm not disagreeing with your perspective.
I'm not
but
arguing with you as well.
You gotta look at it from every perspective, right? Not just yours. That's your experience. But I'm telling you, from my experience in dating other black men, that's not the 3 in here. They would pick someone that's not like. I'm a natural sister. Ask them anywhere I go, Afro City, curly hair, etc. When you met me, natural. I'm telling you from experience. You could speak on yours, but I'm telling you
what I'm saying is as us all being black people, we need to voice how much we care about each other.
I
don't care about how much with this person you may think, and that's your opinion. I'm not disregarding that. I just want to express how much. You can't tell me as a black man another man is going to love you more than I will.
I get that. I feel that.
And
I didn't say love you. No, I said accept our naturalness. It's a difference. It's a difference. I never said love.
Because I went extreme. I want to let you know I love black women. I want to go to the beyond and let you know.
For her body to be altered or get done versus her actually being natural. If we were actually to be ourselves, and like I'm saying 100% ourselves, right?
Yeah.
No nails, none of the extra stuff. Half of y'all don't even know what a natural black woman is because we put on so many different things to fit a standard for our men.
Okay, so I think this is okay. So let me speak on that. I'm hearing 2 things. One, sisters love brothers, and majority of my men want sisters too. So if I had to give a statistic, I'll say 98% of my black women want a brother. 85% of my black men want a black woman. That's just my from my purse from upper echelon matchmaking. So black men do love sisters. You do. And I think we all love each other, right? We can agree to that. Okay. But back to what she's saying though, I think you do click like on the sister with the big booty. You do click like.
I'm not.
Yeah.
But I think this is what women are. We look at physical stuff. We may like it, but that's not what we want.
Got it. Okay.
And I think women got to stop thinking what men are thinking rather than asking what I'm thinking. Because I could like her and I could mess with her, but that don't mean she's coming home to be my mother.
That's not wifey. Okay. Okay.
I agree to that. That wasn't the perspective that I was going from. I was basically saying from my experience, this is not something that's an opinion. This is an experience that I went through. I date different cultures. I date different type of men. I stated that earlier. In my experience, when I dated white men versus when I dated black men, they would accept me 100% in my natural state.
We can also bring up the challenges that it is for a black man to walk up to the woman, a black woman sometimes when we saying, hey, nice to meet. Oh, we get, hot, tough, pushback. And Chad might walk over and say, hey, and
he don't got no swag. He don't got no masculine energy. And y'all be more receptive. Y'all be more receptive to them.
I came up to you corny too, and you gave me an exit.
But why? You're speaking on, but that's not true because I prefer.
But you're speaking on your experience.
No, I'm saying that exactly. I'm saying that's his experience. I'm not disputing it, but what I'm saying is that. When I dated, I'm speaking on, he didn't have that experience that I'm speaking on. So he wouldn't be able to relate. He would be the outside. He's the black man looking at it, not the black woman that's the natural girl with the black guy or white guy. So he wouldn't understand it from my perspective. Of course, he's looking at it like we love our black women, just like I love my black men. But if I'm being honest, I got accepted more being natural with other race. Not saying that every black man in the world don't like their sister natural.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying as a whole,
realistically,
they do prefer you to be made up before natural.
But you can't say as a whole based on your experience. You only dated how many black men and you only dated how many white men. So you can't base a whole on that little experience.
What I said as a whole, I'm saying like, if you were to take a poll right now, right? Let's say you were to put in it just with black men, right?
And
you were to put a natural sister up, right? And you were to put, let's say, another female that's attractive, right? And they were to do their pose, right? And pick, like he just said.
Right.
Yeah, we liking that.
We have
with
over
the poll,
200,000 black men that would choose a natural black woman.
And I agree with you 100%, but you also got to calculate the other 200,000 that wouldn't. It's 50-50.
But we just based off your survey.
But you basing your survey on your experience, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because I dated different types of men. He didn't.
And I hear what you're saying, but your percentage of what you're dating based on the whole is very small.
Yeah, it's a
I would agree to that. Yes, I can agree to that. But like I said, from my experience, that's how it was for me. And for other females that I know, they had similar experiences where they were treated better, with their natural features, dating a white man. So that's why I said that.
Sometimes
not taking away from the black man, because I love my black man.
Sometimes white men, and when I have white men that call me and ask for matchmaking, I question if it's a fetish, because sometimes they fetishize us. And when especially if I hear a white man that says, you know, I like them chocolate, I like them natural hair. They do say these things, but I'm like, is it a fetish? Do you have a...
And it's looked at as when they say there's appreciation.
It sounds
but when
appreciation,
we say it, it's like,
but I'm hearing a fetish. Why she got to look like this?
How do you differentiate that?
Well, I think it makes me. I have a sex therapist on staff, so what I do is my sex therapist gives you a whole list of questions, because I got to understand where is this coming from. Right. You might be attracted. He says this is what I'm attracted to. Where is it coming from? Does it turn you on because she's really dark with full lips? Like, what is it? Like, I need to understand that.
That's dope.
It doesn't mean that I'm not. I have clients with fetishes all day, but I want to, from a Black woman's perspective, I want to know, are you wanting this Black woman because you're fetishizing her, or is that just something you're attracted to? Right. Yeah, I need to know
think,
that.
You know, and I'm everybody has the experiences. I'm not taking that away from you. I just dislike, because I love Black women too much. I dislike Black men and Black women when we tend to put other races on a pedestal. Yeah. I hear Black men say all the time, well, white women treat me better, or they are more receptive to me. They come up to me and talk to me. You know what I mean? And like, I don't like it either way. And I understand that is an experience, but I don't like this pedestal, this putting people on a pedestal and trying to make it seem like they're perfect and they do X, Y, and Z perfect. Because Black men can say the same thing about any other ethnic group of women. But, you know, and it's wrong. You know what I mean? But I can't. I get triggered.
We hear that a lot from
I get triggered when I hear Black women
treat me better, or she's not as aggressive, or she may not yell or do what this Black woman. We hear that a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm not. But what I'm saying is, I don't condone any of it. Right. But to me, it does trigger me when I hear Black women and Black men say it. It triggers me because I'm like, your pedestal, because you have grown up with this perspective. I've seen the corny Black man get rejected by Black women, but the corny Chad come around, is riding a city bike in New York City, be able to get the number. Or how many times we've been at parties, white men don't got no rhythm, but the Black women, you know, all quick on the dance on him, throwing it back on him, but I couldn't get a dance. So you know what I mean? So again, we do have our experiences, and I'm not trying to take anybody's, you know, personal experiences away from them, but we just got to do a better job.
I looked up the stats. It says 16% of women earn more than their husbands. 29% are making somewhere similar, and over 50% husbands earn more.
Yeah, I know that in general that's it. But in our demographic, in our bubble,
in the last 30 years, that is a tremendous high jump.
But it's a jump. But in our bubble of well-educated, it's not that.
Okay.
You know, even in corporate, I'm an HR consultant. I can look around the room and count the Black men. It's like it's different in our bubble. Now, when you go out to the field, like construction or it's different. But in our little bubble, it's women, Black women dominating.
I can see that.
Did you type it in as a whole, or did you type it in for Black people?
Listen,
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I can say our bubbles. I've looked the numbers up.
Like, I know our bubbles are not in the numbers, and I try to find.
So is that anecdotal or is that definitive?
I would have to be a PhD in this to figure it out. But
which I be talking like y'all all PhDs. No,
but what I'm telling you is, sometimes you make these comments like the average woman makes $30,000 a year. I literally don't know anybody who makes $30,000 a year. So like that's
statistics.
But I know,
that's logic.
I know. But I mean,
like that's the
environment. But if you were to follow the logic and you start with matriculation into college, and then you go from college to graduate school, then you go from into the workforce. More Black women are matriculated into college than Black men.
That doesn't always equate to more money. There's more Black men in trade schools and getting trades, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you're asking about the sort of you're talking about logic. So we can look up the numbers. We can delve into a little bit deeper, but I think what Shay is noting, part of it is anecdotal, but there are some statistics to confirm in terms of Black households, et cetera, et cetera. There are initiatives to increase the number of Black men in college. And you can't say, well, just because you didn't go to college, you're going to necessarily make more. Right. When you look at the number of Black entrepreneurs, Black women are on the rise. Yes. So again, you can pull these numbers together and you can get to the point that Shay is making.
But what I'm saying is when they talk about households, they do include single mothers as those head households.
So wait, are you saying that Black women are So what do you mean by single
I'm saying
mothers?
when you talk about the numbers where black women are the head of households, they are including single women, single mothers in those head of the household. So of course those numbers might be more skewed because they're not saying in marriages or relationships. They're just saying head of household. That could be a single mother.
Yeah.
She is filing for head of household because she's a single mother.
Right.
You
No,
know what I mean? So that kind of that
right.
would spew the numbers a certain way to make it seem like, oh, there's more black women as head of the household, but we don't know if they're married. We don't know if they're single women. Like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. So
we just gotta do more research. That's all. Just gotta do more research.
And I don't think they want to tell the story, but I'm just telling you, because what happens, you gotta think, when you go to college, you have a whole bunch of college educated friends.
Yeah.
And to Elle's point, if all of y'all go to college and all of y'all go to grad school, you're in this, you got a whole community of people that ain't what you're talking about. They're not that. They're not making minimum wage just because if you have advanced degrees, you're probably not going to make minimum wage. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't go together.
Yeah. Right. That's fair. No. Let me get to this next topic, right? I do want, how much time we got left? All right, yeah, you know, I appreciate the guy. He's a hardworking guy. Like, you know what I mean? So, what do you think is more fulfilling for career-driven professional women? Do you think a career is more fulfilling, or do you think a family is more fulfilling for those type of women?
I think I think that's a loaded question. Because I think if you ask a woman in her 20s or 30s, when she on the grind, her answer is going to be different than you ask her when she hit 40. I think it's going to be two different answers. Women hit 40 and it's like, you know, I already did that. I'm ready for my family. Or, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's my opinion. When women come to me, they usually be like, it's time. I got to have a baby. You know, they be ready. So they're going to tell you family is more important. But when they were on the grind in school and trying to get there, obviously their career will be more important. But also I think you have to understand that women go to school. We don't go to black women don't go to school thinking I'm gonna get married and I don't have to worry about anything. They go to school like, I gotta go get this degree because I gotta take care of myself. So we go to school like, you better go get this degree so you can take care of yourself. White women have the luxury of go to school, find you a mister, get your MRS, you know, get happily ever after. We go to school. So you in there on. Your focus is, I got to get this piece of paper so I can make this kind of money so I can pay my bills.
Right.
Yeah. So that they're gonna have a different answer in their 20s and 30s than they will when they hit 40.
I wish that narrative changed though. I don't, you know, of course I want you ladies to be independent and strong-minded to pay your stuff, but I want you guys to also to feel like you got somebody to depend on in your future. Like I want that narrative to change.
I love interdependence. We don't talk about interdependence. I mean, black men and black women, we're so focused on being independent and we don't need nobody. We always want to tell each other that we don't need you. I want to get back to the communities, the nuclear families. I want to get back to that. So
because I would say for me, I answered the question, but I'll say also for me, I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to be married. I'm ready to lock it down. You could have asked me that before. I would be like, nope, I don't want to get married. But I'm ready now. Like, so I think you get to a point where it's like, it's time, you know?
But I think your answer, which is about the journey, is important. I think when you're younger, and if you are going, let's say, the college track, you're focused on your studies.
Yeah.
And that's normal. Or if you're trying to build a business, that's your focus. Let's say you decide not to go to college. So that's what you're focused on. And then maybe once you feel a little bit more secure, then you start to think about family. But it doesn't have to be binary that you have to make a decision. You could still have both. You can have both. You could still have family as a priority, but you're also maintaining your career. But it just depends where you are in your journey in terms of, okay, I gotta burn the midnight oil. That's what I had to do going from college to medical school. That was my focus. I couldn't think of anything else. And then I had residency. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, and then the world started to open up.
I think we can be very hyper-focused, which we've had to be. I mean, so kudos to all the sisters, because I'm not down in that at all. I think we've had to do it. Right. We carry it. We carry a lot on our backs as Black women. And that's one of them. Education. Yeah.
I think education, when I thought about it, it was just something I was supposed to do. I didn't really think about it like, oh, I have to make the money. I agree with you, though. I think that's a lot of people do think it, but I just felt like, okay, this is a natural process, a natural order of what's next. You graduate high school, you go to college, go to graduate school. So for me, it was just what you should do. I didn't even really think about not doing it.
Because you wanted to be a nurse.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, it's like,
but it's the same thing.
This is what the journey I got to take.
This is the path.
But
the job I want.
But I did, when I was in school, I think you still date and you still, you know, and it's important. Like, I hear a lot about this feminine energy, and Al kind of talked about it a little bit. Like, I think most women, you know, being a successful woman myself, I just feel like we want to bask in our feminine energy.
Yes.
Let me just be very clear. Like, I know that I have good organizational skills. I have good ideas. I know how to, invest and do different things, but I don't always want to be on. So then sometimes a guy will use an adjective that she's intense, but I'm not intense around certain people. I'm very easy. I had someone the other day say I'm easygoing, and I was like, well, I haven't heard that. That's because the level of feminine energy that I can display in that company was very high.
Yeah.
Because I could take it down.
Exactly.
And I could be just Donna and chilled, and I could have more ideas, and I could, I want to tap into my creative energy, and that only happens when my masculine energy goes down to a certain level. So it depends on the person that you're with.
Right.
And that's what I will tell, like I say to my daughters, like, it's really important when you're choosing a partner that you're able to kind of bring yourself down, like kind of because being in the healthcare field, we know how much cortisol and how much stress is released from being this hyper, like this energy that you have to have. It's not healthy.
It's not healthy.
And
that's why we have high heart attacks and all these things. It's because of the stress.
Unhealthy. And so I'm not going to be in that company where I'm going to need a certain level of, I have to bring it so high all the time. I'll be fine.
I just literally 2 weeks ago, one of the guys I'm dating just whisked me away to Mexico, like literally sent the plane ticket, like show up here, pick me up. I didn't think about anything. Literally chose what I was going to wear every day, what we're going to eat. I didn't have to think at all. And I was like, oh my God, this is so much bliss, because as a business owner, as a mom, I'm on. I'm always making decisions. I'm always calling the shots. Yeah. So in this situation, I didn't think about nothing. I could just be, to your point, feminine and flirty and free. And he just made all decisions. And I love that. Like, you have to just exert it. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Let's go.
When a woman is in her feminine energy, she will give you more.
All of it. Yes.
She will give you so much more when you allow her to be and also be herself and not be critical. We like words of affirmation too.
Yes, we do.
Like what Elle did, like as she said, I was there. She's making dinner. The place is impeccable. We're like laughing. We're having a good time, and she needs to hear, what? That food was good.
Yeah.
Like to hear that. That was really good.
I think it's important that we, some women they're able to turn that switch on, because some of them are not really good at that. They stay at that point where, okay, I'm this type of person and that's just me. And you gotta stay with it.
Which is why you see more femininity courses, people teaching
they need
that.
coaching.
Even
to your point, y'all on one of your shows, I think you said it, you were talking about you were talking to a woman who had been raised by a single mother, and you were like, your mother didn't have feminine energy raising you. She gave you masculine energy to teach you how to survive and to be independent. And I think that was a very good point, because that's where coaching comes in. I tell everybody needs coaching, right?
Yeah.
And I have to let them know, here's where you're tough, you're hard, and that's cool at work. That's how you climb the corporate ladder. Yeah. But you got to know how to take that off, because he don't want another dude bumping heads with him. Like, what I'm saying? You got to be something soft, a soft place for him to land. Yeah. And what does that look like? And how do you do that without compromising yourself? Because the thing is, it's like, so you want me to dumb myself down? No, I'm not telling you to dumb yourself down. That's what they go to that. Like, you want me to dumb myself? No, I want you to be who you are. Be soft, be feminine, be nurturing. That's who you are naturally.
Feminine energy is so powerful. I don't think, all women understand that enough. You know what I mean? That's very powerful. That energy.
It's very powerful.
You know what I mean?
It's not weak at all. And I think we've been taught like, oh, this is weak. But listen, do you know wars have been won with feminine energy? Like, you can conquer the world, and I think we just have to understand the power that we have in being feminine, tapping into our feminine energy.
I think a woman also has to feel secure. And that she's in a stable situation where both partners, I think even as men, there is some feminine energy that you may have as well, when Donna talked about the masculine or the feminine. And I hate to sort of put it in that kind of dichotomy, but the point is to put it in a broader sense is, how can we be vulnerable with each other? How can we let our guards down and let go? And I think we're able to let go. And Donna was saying an example that she used, when you felt comfortable in a space, And that part is what we need to get to in our relationships, where we are with somebody who makes us feel secure,
Definitely
nurtured.
Yes.
And you're going to be more vulnerable with your partner.
Definitely.
Right? She's going to see a side of you that no one else has seen, but that's because she's provided a safe space for you.
Definitely.
So when you have that safe space, then you're going to be more expressive of where you're being vulnerable. And you could say that's feminine energy if you want to, but it may be feminine energy. But I think it's bi-directional. You have to give something in order for that person to feel a certain way. Because it's not just women giving off feminine energy. You also need me to create a safe environment for you.
Exactly.
For you to feel nurtured. Because otherwise you may be hard all the time. And I don't need that all the time.
No, you got to be soft too.
I agree with that 100%.
Yep.
So do we, like you said about, both men and women having that same masculine and feminine energy, are you giving men that same grace that says, I didn't have a father growing up. I was raised by a bunch of women. I do struggle with, my masculinity. I lead more. Are y'all giving men that same grace as well?
Well,
or do y'all expect him to already be in his masculine frame?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I have issues with the whole idea of masculinity and some man saying to me that I'm being masculine. What I'm being is assertive, and there is no gender or sex that's assigned to that. I may be direct, and there's no gender or sex assigned to that. I think that what I've learned in my years, I didn't realize, and this is me being vulnerable, I didn't realize that men have the same type of feelings, that they go through the same type of trauma, and they have the same type of needs. And so I think you have to give people grace, to your point. You have to give them grace, and you have to realize that there are things, and we spoke about it earlier, the trauma, PTSD or whatever that people go through.
Yes.
And that's why it's important to get to know your partner, to understand that and to allow them. So it's not a matter of the masculine energy or the feminine energy. It's giving people grace to recognize what they've gone through and to help them along their journey.
Yeah, it's important.
Are y'all able to recognize when a woman is in her masculine? Like, do you see videos of some women and be like, damn, she is leading in her masculine? What does that look like to you? I want to ask everybody that.
Yeah, go ahead.
What, a female being masculine? I mean,
what does that look like? I know you probably seen videos. Or for example, I don't know if y'all seen the Why Eli clip. You know what I mean? There's some people that the Why Eli
the one
clip.
I was telling you about earlier, and the
when
girl
she was sleeping with
she's like, "Why Eli? Why?"
Yeah.
That one. Okay.
Some people were saying in the comments that she was in her masculine. Like, did y'all see that?
Well, I took that as two ways. Not more so masculine. I took it more as passive aggressive for her, and also hurt. That's what I took from that clip. That when I seen her, she seemed more hurt in the situation, and that it triggered her inside. That's what I took from that clip when I seen her.
I think if y'all watch Love Match Atlanta, it's my show on Bravo, I'm with a client, or I match this client with a guy, and they go on a date, and she starts interrogating this dude. So they on a date, he set up a little picnic for her, and she just goes in. So where do you work? What kind of money you make? Like, she just peppering him with questions, and it was a lot of masculine energy. He was like, he's like retired military. He was like, whoa, like, you just beating me up. She didn't even let him answer. She was just like boom, 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 boom. And that was a turnoff. He was like, she was too rough. It was so masculine.
So I think, Shay, to your point, is I'm acknowledging the issue I have with masculine or feminine energy, because I think that we need to use other words to describe the behavior. You said rough. So maybe rough. She came off rough. Who said that's masculine? Not every man is rough.
Right. Okay. So I'll say she was rough. She was aggressive.
Right. So that's the thing. And so that's what I may see is maybe that. It may not be finessed. And it's okay. People have their own style and how they comport themselves.
Yeah.
But I think it's that's why the emotional intelligence come into play, how people may perceive it in your show. And I watched the show, by the way.
Okay.
Yes. And I saw that. But, to say to your client, which I'm sure you did, with your interaction with this person, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was this, it was that. So I think it's the behaviors we need to describe and how it impacts us. Because I'm not going to say to my partner, you're acting feminine.
Right, because that would be offensive.
I'm not gonna say that
I'm gonna
either.
say, what you said was disrespectful,
Right.
or it was mean, or whatever. I'm gonna use those terms because when I use that term with you, you're gonna understand it, and you're gonna say, "Oh, okay, that's different than me saying you're being masculine." So think about that, because people can only change what you're describing to them.
And to your point,
I like how you did that.
That was good because I think it's a double standard. Because he could tell you that you were masculine, but if you ever said you being feminine, we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? They would be so offended by that. You're being feminine.
I mean, we do live in a society on this show every day. Women talk about how men is sassy, how you acting feminine, and they are open.
I've heard people say that.
They don't care. They are open with it. Like, you know what I mean? But the minute we say a woman is acting, what? That's not masculine.
So to your point, we can use the correct adjective
to describe the behavior.
Well, I think it's an umbrella, and then they got terms that specifically like what you're saying, like rough. That's normally associated with masculinity, and then softness would be.
Is it?
Yeah.
Have you had grandparents or other people who
I think this is like new millennial stuff.
But I think, I'm just trying to steer away from the dichotomy.
Those are buzzwords
of
today.
Man, female, masculine, femininity, and really describing the behaviors, because that's what you can work on. When you say you're acting masculine, I'm going to respond to you. What does that mean? Could you tell me what specifically I'm doing?
And then
you understand?
Right. Yeah.
But my point is, it's just more direct. And when I say, what you said to me, it came off quite rough.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very, very different.
Yeah,
you can address that, because then I can go into details. Then you saying masculine. You're right. If you say feminine, you're like, wait, what do you mean by feminine?
Which part?
And we always do ask that part.
Like, in that situation, back to my example, she was very rough. And abrasive, and he did not receive it well. And so that was something we had to work on coaching. Back to what I'm saying. I don't think you just throw women out and be like, oh, you rough, but there's things you can do to soften them and to help them tap into, this is who we really naturally are.
Who do you think is easier to coach in your perspective?
You trying to get me canceled. You trying to get me canceled.
All right, don't answer. Plead the fifth.
I will say this. All my clients go to therapy, and most of the time they've never been before. And I'm usually, and I have two therapists. I have a sex therapist and I have a regular therapist. And most of the time they've never been
setting up a whole my player situation.
Because my thing is, my thing is, I want you to be ready. I focus on relationship readiness. So it's not just like I can just match you with somebody. If you haven't done the work, you're gonna do the same mess in that next relationship. You haven't healed yourself. So I like to address the issues.
Shay, I'm so glad you said it. I'm a firm believer in therapy. And I've gone to therapy myself. My partner and I have done couples therapy. And I think it's the best. You have to work on your issues. You do. Because like you say, you're going to carry that for every single relationship. What are you going to do? You're going to say that it's the other person.
Always.
And you never did really.
It's good to have that mediator that's not biased. Not to have your homegirl, your homeboy. Because there's going to be a little bias there. You need somebody that's going to be unbiased.
It's going to be unbiased. And I keep it real with my clients too, because I'm like, I ain't trying to sleep with you. I really want you to be matched, right? It benefits me to make you successful. But this right here is a problem. And if you keep doing this, you're not going to be successful. The way you talk to people, or whatever the issue is, I will say that I don't know that. I think, let me say this. Men don't ever, like, women have these kind of conversations. Like in our little girlfriend groups, we might talk about, somebody might say, I went to therapy, and we like, oh yeah, we hold each other accountable. We can talk about stuff. I don't know that men have those circles.
We do this every day.
Y'all do. Y'all do. But listen, on the whole, are men doing this? Are men sitting down? Are they crying on each other's shoulder? Are they talking about their stuff? You know what I'm saying? I don't know that they do that. I'm just, this is
I feel like guys don't feel comfortable doing that with guys. Like, I feel like
I think guys will feel more comfortable doing it, having a conversation with a man rather than a woman, because we're so forced into this leadership role that we don't know how to ask for help sometimes. So we would ask vulnerable. We would ask for help from people that we feel like that's on our level before even though we should go to our woman, but we feel like, oh, well, I don't want to feel like I got it. I'm supposed to make her feel secure, so I'm scared to ask her for help. And
I can't cry because she's gonna look at me like, oh man, he can't handle it.
He ain't the leader no more. So sometimes it makes
not all women.
But I feel like I would want my man to come to me.
I do too.
Women
have thrown it in their faces.
Vulnerability.
Women have thrown it in their faces. You weak. You would cry.
I don't know why.
Because if she hasn't healed her stuff, she's going to be toxic.
Yeah, it depends on the person.
Because
I have heard females say that to like a guy was weak before.
And then,
I like a guy to be vulnerable.
Can I give you a great example? You said, oh, I'm not here to be your therapist or heal your demons, right? Mm-hmm. So when I heard that, like as a man, I'd rather you say like, you don't have to mention those. You could just come up and help me with a solution. Babe, we got to find other ways.
I'm speaking from a dating perspective, not a relationship perspective.
But when you're dating me, we ain't going to be in a relationship if I hear you talking like that.
But if I'm dating you and I see that you're doing that and that's not for me, then that's my cue to exit. We're dating. We're not together. That's why
he's saying he's never going to take it to that next level if he sees that you're
But that's my reason for not taking it to the next level is because I noticed that, because I want a healed man that already went to therapy.
What I'm going to tell you, it's a good percentage of us that's not healed.
No, I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that me personally, I don't want to date somebody fighting demons. I prefer to date somebody that already went to counseling. I went to counseling. So I felt that's just what I prefer.
But you could say, yo, you need to go to counseling.
But yeah, that's the thing. You can say that to people. And remember I brought up the urban community earlier and certain type of guys. It depends on the person too. You might be a good guy and not a local community. It depends on what guy came to you. Definitely. If that's not the guy for me, he might approach me and want to talk to me, but he's not for me. So that's what I meant by that.
So I'm going to say, I respect your perspective. I'm not a matchmaker, but knowing the stigma of mental health in the Black community, how many men and women, because I heard you say men and women you think are actually going to go through counseling? First of all, they don't acknowledge that there's a mental health issue because our community doesn't look at it the same way. So you're cutting down the number of people, and no one's saying that you have to deal with the deep, dark demons, because there are some that are just really heavy. Yeah. But what I'm saying to you is everybody has a load that they are carrying. No one is perfect, as Shay said. No one's going to come like, oh, life was I looked through rose-colored lenses and I was in this bubble and I had a silver spoon. Right. There was something that may have been traumatic to them, no matter how small it was. And so it is more unlikely that you're going to find anyone who did not experience anything.
So I don't want it to be confused where what I'm saying is, say I'm dating a guy, right? And I notice certain things about him that's not for me. Like you say, you're fighting demons, you're still selling drugs, you're doing... it's not my job.
That's different than the
drug. But that's what I'm speaking on. Because I said I'm speaking on dating, not a relate. Y'all are in relationships. I'm single. So I'm speaking on a dating experience. If I'm dating you and I see certain red flags, we're supposed to date to see if we like each other and want to be together. If I see certain things, especially age-wise, like if I see certain things, it's not my job to fix people that I meet in the dating world. It's my job to help my significant other. If we're pursuing each other and we decide we want to be together after dating and we make it official, of course I'm going to have your back and help you. But me just dating a guy, or a female, it's not my job, in my opinion. If I see red flags, it's not my job to stay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you definitely have to look out for those red flags. But I think a lot of times we're so quick, we want to jump to the relationship and we don't realize there's that journey. You got to walk together. To his point, it's like you got to date first before you get to the relationship. But you look and see if there are any red flags. And if
I always date first. We got to go through a trial. I like to date and see if we like each other. And then after we go through, because I do a 60-day dating trial, right?
Oh, wow.
I know it might sound crazy, but anybody got dating.
Fiance type shit.
Right. No, I'm saying because let's see if we like each other, right? You see, I used to do 30, but then, sometimes we make it to the next month. We're saying if we like each other or not. And if we don't like each other, and I have dated guys.
What if it's February and it's a leap year?
That's my birthday, for the record. February 29th, leap year, baby.
I'm February 11th.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I personally, I like to do little dating trials. I like to see because I'm from the South, right? So when I met guys up here, in New York, they're different from the guys in the South.
Yeah.
So I might not know. They grew up here. I flew here. So they know about the people that's around the corner. You know your friend that's cheating with chicks. You know the ones that's faithful. I don't know when I'm dating somebody in a new state. I know once you display and show me. So if I see red flags while I'm dating someone, or I feel like, or they see red flags, because it's a two-way street. They might not like certain things about me. Then we find that out. Then we won't date anymore. We can still be friends or cordial, because I'm still friends with guys I dated in New York, but we're not together. I even backtrack on one of them when we did another 30-day trial. So
listen, let me transition. Before we get up out of here, I do got one last question I want to ask Shay. I mean, everybody could pitch in on this. Do you think there's still a place for arranged marriages in today's society?
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So so you're saying that our parents would match us with somebody? Like our parents would say, you know, Shay, I grew up with this person and I love their son. I know him. I think you should marry him.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what typically what happens in those cultures. Their families put them together.
Okay.
I think if we had arranged marriage, we might have more marriages, but I don't know that they would necessarily be successful, though. I think we would have more, but I don't know that they would necessarily be... Because there are things about me that my parents won't ever know that I need. This is me coming from a matchmaker's perspective and believing that compatibility is what makes us work. So it's not... So in that arranged marriage model, they're matching people who grew up in the same area, who might have the same background and the same culture. But I think when you get down to the individual, just because we're from the same place doesn't mean we're necessarily going to be compatible, because there are different interests and different things that you might be into. So I don't know. I think you'll have more, but I don't know that they'll stay together.
You don't think even part of your career is like, you know, arranging marriages at some point of view?
I can see how that could be. But no, because I don't say, here's your husband, you got to marry him. It don't work like that.
Okay.
I make introductions and they say yes or no.
But
so
also,
they still choose at the end of the day.
But also you get to know these people individually.
Intimately,
too, right?
yes.
You ever watch Indian Matchmaking? Like, and they have a whole system. Like, you
that's
know,
not arranged though. So we're talking two different things.
Okay.
So the Indian matchmaker, the matchmaker is matchmaking like me.
Okay.
And arranged marriages is the family. They decide when you're born, you're gonna marry this person.
That's crazy.
And they grow up to a certain age and they go off and get married. There's different things. But yes.
Okay.
What is your success rate in your matches?
It's 90%.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
Thank you. But I honestly will tell you,
Bravo.
I surround my business is made up of some sisters that they are powerful in their fields. Like I've just partnered with they're friends of mine, and they were successful in their fields, and I added them to my business.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of, professionals on my team, and I let them do their job, and they report back to me. And I collect so much statistics and analytics on people that it's a scientific approach.
Yeah.
I know all this data on you that I'm like, you would be a good fit for this person.
I think it'd make it even easier for you to coach, because they see, what you've been
Stats.
doing. Yeah, the stats.
And I'm talking from, this is your issue. This is your thing. You can't dispute this.
Right.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Listen, I appreciate everybody for coming on this panel and having this conversation, even though some of y'all was a little, want to come on the panel, but we had a good conversation.
I was talking the most. That's great.
Yo, listen, if y'all enjoyed the conversation, make sure to hit that like button, comment your favorite part, which y'all agree, which I disagree with. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe if y'all not already subscribed. I know some of y'all not subscribed. I don't know why y'all not subscribed.
I don't know what y'all doing.
Hit the notification bell. Join the membership, because we're going to have plenty of content over there. And again, we can start here. Let them know again your name and where your business and whatever you want to promote.
I'm Donna. I'm a nurse practitioner. Mother-daughter connect on Instagram.
Hi, my name is Shaq, and I'm a chef and a home health aide. And my handler is Angel Face Shaq Love on Instagram.
Hi, my name is Marcel. My Instagram is nurse_Marcel.
Hi, I'm Elle, and I can be followed at I am Dr. Harris.
And then again, Shay, we gotta really appreciate you for pulling up. You flew all the way out here. We got this lovely panel together. Again, let them know they go follow you and watch your content.
Yes, you can follow me at Shay Primus Matchmaker, or you can follow my business, Upper Echelon Matchmaking. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Shay, if you ever want to do a pro pro bono, because I'm pretty sure these brothers can't afford you. But I would love for them.
Some shade.
That is some shade. Like,
but these are two of the finest dudes I know
I like
that
them.
are looking for.
I like how you saved that.
I'm being honest. They're great. They're great men. They're honest. They don't cheat. They're loyal.
I love that. Listen,
I love black women.
Stand up, guys.
I will match them, and we could just all I want you to do is just show it on your stream. I'll match y'all, send y'all on some dates.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. I will totally do. All I want you to do is just show it. I just want them to watch my work because I'm gonna find y'all some.
Veneers almost about to fall out.
I like all of y'all. I really do. I have so much respect for y'all. I love your show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. We are.
And all y'all ladies, we definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Y'all perspectives, thank you. It's much needed.
Thanks
That was
for having
dope.
us, guys.